Okay, so just to round out the part about character and values, uh, I believe I am anyway. Maybe I'm biased, but I'm very hard on myself, but I'm not very hard on other people. Towards my family or friends, I'm usually quite gracious and patient, and not a very pushy person. But towards myself, I'm extremely pushy and demanding, and very, very unforgiving if I do anything wrong. I'm my own judge. So this, I think, is the opposite of some people I know who are very nice to themselves but very tough towards other people, right? So I reverse it around, yeah. And also, I'm a big believer in the idea I developed, which is also part of the training for value partner staff called the stupid smart idea. The basis here is that if you think you are smart, the result usually is stupid. But if you think you are stupid, the result usually is smart. So I always tell people I'm a very stupid guy, you know. And by doing that, I force myself to learn harder and work harder. And I'm quite believe that to this day, at the age almost now of 60 years old, I don't have much ego. I'm very quick to recognize my mistake and say that I'm wrong, etc. And this is done not because I'm a nice guy, but out of self-interest. My experience in the rough jungle of stock market investing has convinced me that the first guy to recognize his mistake is the winner. The faster you recognize your mistake, the faster you pick yourself up, the faster you get on in life and make the money. Those people who spend a lot of time trying to forgive themselves and make excuses and refuse to recognize errors, they usually end up not surviving the jungle. So it's done out of self-interest. And about 1/3 of everything I do, according to our postmortem analysis, are mistakes. We make literally thousands and thousands of mistakes in the market, despite being quite a leader in the Asian stock market investing. The thing about us, though, is that we recognize the mistakes very fast, we move on very quickly, and we never allow it to destroy our self-confidence. Yeah. I also noticed that many people are very concerned what is their cost price when they do investing. Oh, it costs so much, now I'm below cost, I won't sell it, that kind of thing. To us, that's very stupid because nobody cares what's your cost price except you. It's irrelevant, actually. You just got to figure out whether it's a mistake or not. Okay, just to give you an illustration of my commitment, when I can't remember, 25 years old, I changed my own signature from Chia, which is my name, to learn. So every time I sign my name, I remind myself to learn new things. And here is another point about value partners. All employees are strongly encouraged to sign a promise to the company. I was the guy who drew up the promise. If you can't see it clearly, I can tell you the first few points. It's a very simple promise, just a few points. Be honest and straightforward. Put my pride, not my ego, into the job. Always strive for self-improvement. Put clients' interest first. You'll be amazed how many financial people put their clients' interest last. Yeah. Be fair and responsible to shareholders, etc., etc. But anyway, this is a set of beliefs that are very simple even for fresh graduates to understand and execute. The key is to, so what we do is make them sign it, we frame it and put it in front of their computer. So they're reminded of it every day. I was very determined to move away from a perception that sometimes you could feel during my time that somehow Asian firms are necessarily got some gap in terms of integrity, responsibility, honesty, or putting their client interests first. I was going to show the world that we Asians can also do it. And another thing that's strong on me is that I never forget my roots, no matter what happened. This is one of my cars in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, you're allowed to get your own license plate. So I got the license plate Penang for my car, yeah. I think you have to know where you come from, what are your roots, your culture, etc. And no matter how life may treat you, don't forget it. Okay, so my formal speech, the first part is over. I like to keep it nice and sweet. I welcome any questions and answers. I'll be delighted to share with you whatever I can. Yeah, thank you.
We have just heard a truly inspiring testimony of courage that overcame the adverse circumstances of my generation. I was also born in 1954, so I'm a very lucky man to be born in the same year as Mr. Chia. 1954 is also the year that two of the smartest people in the world that I know were born in. One is Lawrence Summers, who's now a contender for the chairmanship of the Federal Reserve of the United States. And the other one would have been one of our former speakers, Jeffrey Sachs, who was fundamental to the transformation of socialist, centrally planned economies to market economies. So the horses have pulled the world along well. And I am very proud that Mr. Chia has been at the forefront of moving us to a much better outcome. It is a very rich speech. There were two things that really struck me, which I'm sure it must have struck many of you. The first is that the obsession with conformity in Malaysia that we see now, the desire to control the definition of terms, the use of particular phrases, this conformity is in many ways a handcuff that we put on our minds. Mr. Chia tells us, if you want to do well, you have to be contrarian. Progress comes from seeing where conventional wisdom fails to hold. And the second idea that he has really pushed, which I would like to hear more of, is the idea of excellence. But the important thing is, excellence is a meaning that is not narrowly defined, largely because intelligence has many dimensions. He reminded us that he was never the top student in his class. There was Michael Devaraj, there was Kubu Tek, there was James Yasudasan in your class that kept you. But on the other hand, Mr. Chia has done very well, largely because the idea of intelligence that we normally have is the wrong one. For example, how many A's did you get in your Form 5 exam and your Form 6 exam? This came to me when I realized that most of the people who win Nobel Prizes in physics, chemistry, those who are American born, none of them went to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, or Stanford. And that is true for most parts of the world. Why is that so? Largely because think of the situation where you have to take 6 subjects for your exam. Somebody gets 80 points in every one of the 6 subjects, whereas another person gets 100 in physics, 100 in math, and 20 points in everything else. So what's happened is the person who had the 80% points in everything gets into the best university, and the other person went to a second-rate university, but then they both study physics. Then they both end up doing research in physics. And the one who had the 100 points in physics much younger ends up getting the Nobel Prize. So basically, many times our idea of excellence is based on the best average rather than the best in that particular field. Mr. Chia was not the best physics student in Form 5, not the best math student in Form 5, but he's certainly the best investor in that class. So let's hear from the best. And so I welcome questions from people. I'll take a couple of questions, and then we get them answered in a block. The gentleman here, you, and you. Oh, the lady comes. 1, 2, 3. You, sir, would you mind going to the mic? Please line up behind him. And miss, where are you? Could you line up there? Kindly state your name and then your questions. We'll take 3 questions at a time. And then you answer the ones that make you look good.
Hello. My name is Hong K. Chai. Mr. Chia, I'm sitting next to the chairman of the Chia Kongsi. So he has given me some hint. I have 2 questions for you. First, the title of your talk, from journalist to fund manager. You see both your career have a lot of similarity. For example, as a journalist, you must paint a clean picture, nothing but the truth. So as a fund manager, you also give your client the same picture. Right. The second question here is, you say you took a slow boat to Hong Kong, a one-way trip. Suppose you have the good fortune to fly there in MAS, do you think that will not change your fortune? Thank you.
Please. State your name and your questions.
My name is Eddie. Thanks for sharing your valuable insights on your life, Mr. Chia. It's very informative and highly beneficial. I just want to ask with regard to the decision-making process of value partners. Since you have a large number of analysts in your firm, how does the decision being made in your firm? I mean, it's like, are you the ultimate decision maker, or do you delegate the decision to your team of analysts before any investment is made? Yeah, that's my question.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chia. My name is Lilian. I actually have 2 businesses in Hong Kong, so I know how competitive it can be. I'm also from Penang. And I do really believe, after hearing you talk, that it is your character and your values that sets you apart, especially in a place in Hong Kong where everybody's smart and everybody's fighting, tooth to nail. Anyway, I'm back in Penang for the next stage of my life, which is having a baby. After hearing you talk, because I'm actually looking at education funds, starting one for my future child. I think choosing the right fund would be good, but I think the best way to choose a fund is based on the character of the person leading it. So since you're already 54, I have nothing to lose by asking you, firstly, how is your health? And secondly, what is your succession plan? Thank you.
Always expect and expected from Penang.
Well, thank you for such frank and straightforward questions. It contribute to the quality of our afternoon today. And congratulations, Lilian, on the... I also love children, actually. Regarding succession, I'm actually 59 years old, and it's a listed company. So a lot of effort has gone into preparing my company for the time when my involvement will be less and less. But in fact, as of now, I'm very fully engaged. My health is, frankly, is very good. I go to the gym every day. I do a lot of Buddhist meditation because I think I have an obligation to my clients to be fit in mind and in body. Having said that, my worry is not so much about succession plan right now, but the fact that the kind of business that Value Partners is in, that's true of all asset management companies, is that so much of what happened to us and to our clients is due to circumstances beyond our control. That's probably true of most businesses, but it's especially so for a business where the direction and situation of stock markets drives your profit and loss, rather than whatever you can do or you cannot do. So all we can do is to have a very good kitchen with good cooking, good cooks, etc. But ultimately, if you invest in a fund, you should be aware that even the best fund manager in the world will suffer losses if the overall market environment is terrible. And the overall market environment is determined by many complex factors, ranging from the notorious QE easing of the Federal Reserve to, I'm told, even the length of women's skirts have an impact on the market. You know? Yeah. Regarding questions from my fellow Chia Kongsi clansmen, Mr. Wong and Eddie, just one point to make is that, and I think Professor Wu Win Tai also alludes to this situation, is that people in my generation typically have only one chance and no more than one chance. So it makes us quite different from today's generation. Put in simple language, I joined the Star as a reporter in 1971, 72. In 1973, they changed the employment rule in the Star so that only college grads were allowed to become reporters. So I got in just in time, and that has haunted me ever since, that a difference of just 12 months, I would not even have been offered a job as a reporter in the Star. So I only had that one chance to get in, that little window. To this day, because I went to Penang Free School, I can't read or write Chinese. And yet I'm supposed to be an investor in China. So I'm entirely dependent on interpreters to help me. People like Miss Sun over there, who is actually from People's Republic of China. And in fact, in the last at least 12 years, anyone who can't read or write Chinese would not even be considered for a job as a fund manager for China. So how is it that I'm the head of a fund management company? Again, I only had that one chance and no more. You know, the doors are always closing on what we call the difficult generation of people like myself and others in this room today. It makes us very hard and very obsessed. And so the questions like similarity between newspaper reporter or different fund manager from Mr. Wong or decision-making process, I can answer them in a very technical way. But it's more important to give you the sense of the sheer desperation of my generation. When Malaysia itself was very much a third world country, and we basically just survived by the skin of our teeth. And so whether I was a reporter, an asset manager, or whatever, we have that one chance, we can't blow it. There were people in our neighborhood, in those days when Mahathir first came, he made the narcotics trafficking punishable by death, mandatory death sentence. And the reason is that so many people in Penang in the country were drug addicts through a sense of hopelessness. They call it the Dada problem. Some of you have forgotten. I had never forgotten because at least one of my relatives died from a drug overdose, you know, from taking too many narcotics. Yeah. So you can see that from that kind of cloth, a certain type of clothing will be cut. Very hard, and some become very embittered, some take too many drugs, and some live on the edge of desperation. Some, during the 1980s, Malaysia began to have a little bit of a bad image in Hong Kong because of George Tan and other Malaysians who came and were not honest people. So it gave our country a very bad image that Malaysians are crooks and conmen and have very unethical business practices. It even affected people like me, who are honest people. But I actually understood why this happened, because people began to cut corners in this kind of desperate environment. So for reporter and asset management, the raw material is the same. The raw material actually is information. Just like an electricity generating plant that use coal will burn coal, that's the raw material. For people like me, I'm an information machine. I get an average of 1,800 emails per day, Monday to Friday, and I read them all. I don't know how I do it, but I do it. Yeah? It's because this information is the lifeblood of my business, then digesting it. For training, asset management, and decision making, is well delegated. The most important thing I can do for you, if you join Value Partners, is the day I stop to you and say, you have been given buy-sell power. That means you are allowed to buy and sell on behalf of the fund. There are now at least 12 people to 15 people in my company with buy-sell power. So the power of making decisions have been increasingly diffused around the firm. You have people as young as 35, 40 now with buy-sell power over at least $1 billion US dollars. So we are quite delegated. But of course, it's a very scary thing for me because this is the client's money, it's not my money. So when you delegate buy-sell power to someone, actually I'm terrified that something will go wrong. I keep watching. But the process is ongoing and so far quite healthy. Decisions are made at the moment on the basis of sector specialization, which means different teams look after different sectors of the market in the hope that we have genuine expertise to offer to the clients through specialization. Essentially, we are saying that in our company, we are heart surgeons, we are lung surgeons, we are people who look after bones and look after maybe like whatever, you know, ear, nose, throat, ENT, etc. Specialization results in greater expertise.
Thank you. We'll come to the next round. You, sir, Mr. Goon, and the man in the red shirt. Please line up and get ready. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chai, for your very inspiring speech. My name is Kelvin, and I'm from Penang as well. I basically have 4 questions. So basically, my first one.
One question, sir. Please.
Okay, may I have 2,
Pick your
please?
most important one and shoot.
Okay, sure.
All right.
So basically, you know, we are presented with so many investment opportunities in today's world. So I'm just wondering, based on your experience, what has been the most efficient methodology to help you narrow down your choices? And if you can, you know, shed some light on your wisdom in terms of asset allocation when designing a portfolio, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Mr. Goon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chia. Like you, I was born in the 50s, and so I'm very much taken what you say about us being the generation that drifted. We had no life plans, and we just went with the tide and ended up as best we could. But the generation, and many of these Gen Y people are sitting in this hall as well, they have very much different options. So my simple question to you is that what is your advice to them, given the harsh realities of life today? What do they need to equip themselves to succeed just as you have succeeded? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chia. My name is Zhi Hao. I'm currently working as a proprietary trader in the Hong Kong exchange. And my question is, along your career life as a fund asset management, what is the toughest challenge that you have met and how did you overcome it? That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, the third question is the easiest to answer because we have so many experiences. Generally speaking, our analysis is divided into quantitative and qualitative analysis. For quantitative, we are true experts, but at the same time, we have nothing original to offer. I started by using a textbook called Security Analysis by Graham and Dodd, which is a very well-known textbook, actually. And we just executed the book straight down the middle. I'm a very straightforward guy, so we have a standard financial modeling, and we crunch the numbers to analyze the business, and there's nothing new to offer. Now, the second type is called qualitative analysis, and this is where most of the mistakes originate. Qualitative is something you cannot put numbers on. It's a judgment. You have to evaluate for yourself, especially in terms of the character of the human beings you are evaluating. Yeah. The business is about people. It's about human beings. And human beings are actually extremely illogical. You just got to be aware of that. They make weird decisions that make no sense from an economic point of view, but you have to put up with it because that's how the market works. And also, in the context of some of the markets we are looking at, including the mainland of China, due to various factors, there was quite an increase in corporate governance problems, meaning you keep bumming the people you can't actually trust, but you just don't know it because they are very fast talking. So sometimes you believe them, and then you get cheated. I have suffered a number of cases where I lost 100% of my investments. Some of the losses were actually very serious and were actually reported in the Hong Kong media. It's like feeling that. And in one spectacular case, I actually lost money not in China, but in Hong Kong, in a wannabe Air Asia, Hong Kong version, the no-frills airline, started by a Sunday school preacher, was so incredibly convincing that I put in 30 million US within a few days, and I lost it more or less all of it. Yeah, because he wasn't starting an airline, he was just the noise. But anyway, the thing is, the most common source of my errors is misjudgment of human beings. Inability to figure out whether the guy is an honest or dishonest guy. So much so that today, I tend to be quite skeptical when I meet human beings with investment proposals. I find it very hard to figure out, even now, whether I'm dealing with an honest guy, not an honest guy, or an honest guy today who will be a dishonest guy by next year. You know, it's very difficult to handle. Yeah, but that's the real world. What do? You got to keep fighting. Yeah. Regarding questions like, sorry, what? Boy, what was the other question?
Mr. Goon had a question about what words of wisdom would you have
all
for
right.
the next
Yeah, it's pretty
generation?
much in my, I think you have to cultivate a very good brand. In Value Partners, we always use cars because I'm a car lover, you know. I actually have 6 cars, you know, so I have different types of cars, right? So do you want to be Mercedes-Benz? Do you want to be Toyota? Do you want to be a Kia, KIA, you know? Or you want to be just a totally no brand, useless brand car. So, so if you want to, you're starting a life, make sure you work on very hard on the characteristics that you have a natural aptitude and that you want people to associate your name with. I can honestly tell you that I hope that my name, Chia Cheng Hai, will be associated with being humble and sort of a very committed to lifelong learning. Yeah. Whenever I meet people, I'm hoping that's what they remember me, even if they don't remember me for anything else. So work on your brand. The modern world is all about branding. Employers are actually very willing to pay a big premium if you have the right brand. And the customers now are very illogical. You put a brand like Mercedes on an automobile and you put a no-name brand, you can charge a lot more for the Mercedes brand, even though the 2 cars are actually identical. Yeah, so work on the brand. What other questions? Unfortunately, my notes are...
I think we have exceeded the time that we had allocated here. We are now going to stop for a 15-minute break. And let us return to this hall at 4:10. That's okay. So there are coffee being served outside of the hall. So we'll see you back in 15 minutes.